Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo and I am a 3-week-old vegan. I'm also a year older. As of a couple of days ago, celebrating a birthday. I would say it is a happy birthday because unlike some birthdays I've had, I believe that I am on the path to a better life in relation to my health, largely, if not only, due to making this lifestyle change in beginning to lean vegan less than a month ago. It'll be a month in about a week, and I will provide another update. It seems to be something that people enjoy as much as I enjoy talking about these types of things. I get excited. Some people remarked that me doing these vegan vlogs gives them a little bit of hope and potentially some direction. So I'm going to kind of run with that. It's exciting to me when I find something that works, that makes sense, that I think is genuinely good for a great amount of people. And I get passionate about darn near anything that happens to trip my trigger. I'm passionate about being healthy, being the best me that I could possibly be. That said, I know I'm probably going to say some things that could be perceived as controversial. I must establish once again that this is a personal choice for me. I believe, this may be controversial itself, this is a personal choice that many people should investigate. I'm not going to say that they should make it for themselves. That's up to them. That's completely up to you. I'm just finding, and this is really in relation to the first point that I've made, I've got notes off screen. I believe, based upon what it is I've known, what it is that I've learned, what it is that I've just recently discovered, as well as what I've known for an infinite amount of time, like going all the way back to I don't know who ran these ads, but back in the day they had these commercials, right? And they weren't really commercials. They'd be these cartoons that would talk about nutrition and health, and they would run on Saturday mornings. I grew up with Saturday morning cartoons. Like, I remember there was one character, I should look this up, that ate carrot sticks. So I've always known that fruits and vegetables are good for you. I just didn't know just how good for you they were until I opened my eyes and recognized, wow, there's a lot of bad stuff out there. And I think that is the biggest hurdle that most people may face is, yeah, they may know that maybe a whole food plant-based diet is good for them, but their choices are infinite. And these choices aren't necessarily good choices, but they are choices. And they are prevalent. You can't turn around without seeing a bad choice. And I don't just mean perceivably bad, just demonstrably a bad choice. But you still make it. Why? It's comfort. It's something that's recognizable, something that you enjoy the taste of. But it's a short-term gain that doesn't have a long-term benefit necessarily for a wide amount of people across a span of time. So I believe that there are more reasons to be a vegan than there are reasons to not be a vegan. This is pretty much what I think could be controversial, because someone who isn't, someone who is leading a diet that they can eat whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, and they're fine with it, they're probably an outlier, given that obesity is an epidemic, given that heart disease, atherosclerosis, I knew I wouldn't be able to trip through this word. I'm just going to stick with heart disease, high cholesterol, specifically LDL compared to HDL, diabetes. I cannot get through a program today without seeing a commercial for some prescription medication that I look at and I say, why is this necessary? Why is this necessary today? It wasn't a problem at some point in the past, and suddenly it's a problem. Why is it a problem? Because of the environment? Possibly. Could it be that you are what you eat? I would say most certainly. I'm not going to say you eat fat, you are fat, because I don't think that's, that covers everything. But I believe that there are more reasons to be vegan than not. Because every discussion that I have, every reasonable discussion I have, usually comes down to not debating the science, not debating the research, not debating the results, not debating history. It comes down to not even a debate of whether you should be a vegan or not. It comes down to a personal choice. And that personal choice is very often reinforced by, but I like the taste of this. But I really like that. But it's so difficult. And I cannot deny that you like the taste of something. I cannot deny that it could very well be difficult for you. But that's typically the argument, or where it winds up, right? If there's an argument or if there's a discussion, it comes down to that, and I can't fight that, because it's all down to personal choice at that point. You decide: do I want these health problems as a lingering threat, whether it's a distant threat or an immediate threat? Do I want them, or do I want to lower, by any degree, do I want to lower the likelihood that I'm going to have any one of those ailments? It's up to you. I'm not the one who's got to pop that pill. I know we have health problems in this country. I know we've got, debates about healthcare and how it should be managed. But in my estimation, a lot of the problems could be avoided. You just eat better. And I don't think it's a matter of moderation. And I don't mean you. I'm just saying, if someone eats better, the chances of them getting better are probably pretty good, generally speaking. Where you usually find that deviates is when they just don't eat something that their body wasn't accustomed to. By and large, the Western diet. Again, I'm not slagging you for making that choice. I'm just saying, that's a choice I had to make. Do I want these lingering health problems? No. What do I got to do? Oh, I got to learn. Oh, okay. A whole food plant-based diet, minimizing oils. I'm good. That's it. I'm happy. That's I think kind of what it boils down to for me, in looking at what might be available, in not just its abundance, this cornucopia of foods, but narrowing it down to knowing what my body needs. And that's just, I think it's a good part of veganism, because you want to be healthy. I'd imagine. I don't think anybody's out there going, I love being unhealthy. It's awesome. Some people do. Can't fault them for that. But it's really funny when some people have shared in social, they tweet a picture of a hamburger to me, oh, okay, you're proving what exactly? That you're still eating it? I get it. People still eat it. That you're barbaric and you vicariously helped kill that animal? Okay. I don't know what you're proving to me, apart from not really understanding exactly why I made the choice and why others make the choice, and why you may eventually possibly make that choice, unless you shut yourself off from that, and at which point, when you stop learning, you stop living. That's my belief. I know, sounds controversial. I've yet to hear a good counter-argument, a solid counter-argument that could effectively refute the science ad infinitum. And I know there are a lot of perspectives out there, a lot of misinformation, but I'm talking about diehard, this just doesn't stand up. It just doesn't make sense. Specifically in talking with, others who have been through this, who are either in the medical profession or just live as a regular human would. I've really yet to hear a good counter argument, a solid one, right? Apart from the ones that are easily dismissed and debunked. I believe that it is possible to spend less money on food and achieve weight loss goals. Now, this is weird because, and this is nothing more than just an assertion, it seems that we spend a lot of money on food. We spend a lot of money on food to bring food in, right? To eat, because we need to eat. But we also seem to spend, as a society, as a whole, a lot of money on trying to lose weight, specifically fat, that we don't want. So there's a disconnect there. Something's wrong, right? We're spending more money here, but we're also spending more money here. Is it possible to spend less in either area? I'm here to tell you, I believe it is. I believe. 3 weeks in, I was asked, actually 2 weeks in, on my birthday, someone asked, a close friend who I've known for years, something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, are you going to stick with it? I'm like, dude, it's been 2.5 weeks. You can't, how could you know? Unless your life was in serious danger, which it is not, and I don't think nutritionally it is. My hair and nails are doing very well. I'm due for a haircut this week. And I just clipped my nails. I think they grew faster than they normally do. It's anecdotal evidence. Don't take that as, absolute flat science. It's just a fact. But I believe that we're spending too much, which is counter to the argument, oh, going vegan is too expensive. No, it isn't. You need one corner of the grocery store. I'm generalizing there, but when you eliminate what you don't need, what you can't eat, suddenly what you can eat is bountiful. It's bountiful enough. You don't need to eat mountains of everything, right? You don't even need to eat a little bit of everything, right? You just need to eat what your body needs. That's flat fact, right? You don't give your body what it needs, it's gonna do something, potentially. And I'm not even talking about ailments that you can't control. I'm talking about what you can control. Because ultimately, you can't control everything. But what can you control? And I believe, again, you can control this. You can. You have that choice. As a fully functioning adult, or someone who has the wherewithal to know what you're doing, you have the ability to control it. You choose whether or not to control that. Doesn't make it any more or less true, any more or less valid for your body. Healthcare, I believe, starts with your own intake. I've always believed that, though. I mean, it's one reason 20 years ago I was like, I'm good with sugar and processed foods. Not my thing. I knew that 20 years ago, right? That definitely hasn't changed. But I believe you are what you eat. I'd rather not be someone who carries the death of potentially a horrific death from everything that I've seen of animals. And I don't think there's such a thing as a humane death. That's another misnomer that gets tossed about. But healthcare, you believe in healthcare, truthfully, it starts with your own body. You don't fix the problem when it's a problem. You fix the problem before it happens. I'm a big believer in preventative measures across the board with anything, not just food, not just health. A big believer in preventative measures. I do believe it is easier than you think. I'm talking about this 3 weeks in. Reworking patterns, finding new, ways of doing things. It's easier than you think. It was more difficult to do anything 10 years ago or even 20 years ago when I was doing the low carb thing, and that did work for me for losing weight. Did not work for me for gaining better health. Nor was I able to keep it off. One goal in leaning vegan is just not to have to worry about weight loss anymore. It's truthful. I'm going to be honest with you. I believe that having that support system in place is critical, and if you can't find it from your family, which you might not, I'm sure you can find new friends. I'm not saying find new friends. Some friends are good and they have their own way of doing things, but if you don't have that support system in place, my recommendation is try to find it for whatever you're doing, right? That's not just about vegan or not. It's just generally a good practice, especially when someone's reinforcing bad habits, unknowingly putting you in harm's way. But it's your choice if you want to be in harm's way or not. Who knows? Like I said, I'm 3 weeks in. I could be putting myself in harm's way. I don't know. I'm willing to experiment based on science and documented evidence and proof to put my body through the process of doing what they've been telling me to do ever since I can remember. Eat more plants and vegetables, plant foods, whole food, plant-based diet. It's not that hard. You've got the range. You just go from there. I do want to also note that we were out. We were looking for the new Forces of Destiny Star Wars figures or dolls for Jedi, and something happened. And somehow I replied to Jedi. I said, we don't eat animals, and I think that was the first time I ever said that in public. So that was a step forward. I said it. I didn't care. I don't care who was going to judge me around the corner. We don't eat animals. What are they going to say? What? You don't eat animals? Which is more cruel? Which has more compassion? Eating animals or not eating animals? Which sounds more compassionate to you? I don't care what the animal is. Your dog. Do you want me to eat your dog? Why can't I eat your dog? You can eat a cow. Why can't you eat a dog? It's meat. You tell me, which sounds more compassionate? Eating animals or not? Which sounds more reasonable to you? Eating an animal or not? Killing an animal to eat it. And I'm talking about, again, where we are today. I'm not talking about we need to fight to live. We don't. We can walk a block and get, a liter of soda for 99 cents, right? We can walk another block and get this mammoth burger filled with processed and refined everything that's nutritionally devoid and pay 99 cents. So we can we can eat, but is it really feeding us? So it's not about, well, we need meat to survive. I don't believe a majority of us do. I think a majority of us need to strip away the things that we don't need and work with the things that we do need. I'm not a physician. I know that there are going to be exceptions to the rule. I know that my body can accommodate meat. It can. I don't believe that it was necessarily designed to, like a carnivore. Possibly, yes, an omnivore, but then you look back at the science and say, well, vegans, those who remove, or herbivores, effectively, who remove any kind of meat or dairy product or animal-based product from their diet, are generally more healthy across the board, all things considered. Generally, these are generalizations. So, you know, it was really nice for me to say that out loud. And I was kind of proud. I'm like, we don't eat animals. Like, that's black and white. We don't eat animals. It's a good position to take. I'm happy to take that position. I came out and said that I was vegan to colleagues the other day. It was a natural course of the conversation, and I said, well, actually, I'm leaning vegan, so I've got limited options, but I've found something. There's one thing on the menu. Oh, yeah. I'll get to that in a moment, or at least the frustration around that and what decisions it's leading me to. Personally, like in terms of like any kind of body changes or health changes, my weight hasn't fluctuated that much. I really dropped a lot the second week, and I knew I would balance out. Still losing weight gradually, still eating, intake and not being hungry. I'm not hungry. But I'm down about 10 pounds. I was down about 10 pounds for my birthday. I'm expecting to lose 1 or 2 this week. With, again, there's variations around that middle weight depending on the time of day, your water intake, which I'm getting plenty of that. How much you've eaten, what you haven't eaten, etc. But I'm right around 10 pounds lost in 3 weeks, which again just only further indicates that I'm moving in the right direction. In terms of leaning vegan. One thing I noticed, and this was after I recorded the second week video, the next day I got a cyst. Didn't hurt or anything. I've had cysts before. It's not a pimple, not a zit, but like effectively like a swelling of the skin. And I actually have a couple on my back too. I've had not rampant acne necessarily, but you can feel like, okay, that's a cyst. It went away ultimately. I mean, you feel this little bump here, but it's not a big deal. You can't get rid of them as easily, unless of course they get infected, and then you have to get rid of them. But it went away, and I noticed I had a few of them, right? Just maybe 2 or 3. I'm like, well, that's kind of odd. Why did I get these cysts? I stopped eating oil. I didn't think this was necessarily going to happen. Diana looked up, and a side effect, a potential. Well, she looked up that why you might get cysts. One reason could be elevated testosterone. I don't know if my testosterone is increased. I do know that it likely has changed because I'm no longer, well, either my testosterone has increased or it hasn't decreased, but I'm getting less estrogen because I'm not eating dairy, which could basically give my body estrogen, which I don't need. And so it could be a side effect. I don't know if I have more testosterone or the same level of testosterone, or if that's what is causing the cyst, or if it's just completely unrelated. But it's a possibility. That hasn't been seen either way, whether or not you can increase or decrease your testosterone by going with a vegan dietary lifestyle or a whole food plant-based, being a whole food plant-based person. But it is possible. I don't feel any more masculine, but it's funny that, the whole idea that you eat meat and you're masculine, I'm not eating meat and I may have better testosterone levels. I don't know. Never had an issue with it in my entire life. I've never had an issue with that. I don't need any more. I don't need any more testosterone. I'm good. I'm fine. I definitely don't need any more estrogen. That is for sure. Look it up. Estrogen, dairy. Yeah, you do your research. I'm not dragging as much in the morning. It's somewhat easier to get out of bed. I'm still a little tired, but not as groggy. I'm able to get going quicker. I feel like I'm more awake in the morning. Not that I feel I'm getting better sleep, because I don't think I am, any better than I might have before, but certainly not having alcohol at night could help that over time. Not having caffeine could certainly help that, at least in copious amounts that I was happening to take in. A little head update, I think it was a tension headache. It could be, I've got a list of like 10 things it could be causing migraines. But Diana asked me to lay on this thing that she got, this block. You may remember from the vlogs a while ago. It's this little plastic, 2 pieces of plastic. It's specifically to relieve tension headaches. You lay on it, and these little bumps you lay on, and they hit the back of your head, your pressure points. And when I laid on it, I felt like a huge, sharp pain. Like, I didn't even think it was emanating from there, but it was on my right side, which is, if anything was pronounced, as on my right side. But I was like, oh my God, this was a few days ago. It was after my birthday. It's like, I get ow, ow, ow. Oh, it was so painful. And my headaches have been dissipating in terms of severity. I don't get them at the same time. The time is getting pushed further back. If it is a headache, it's a light headache. And I believe that, like, when Diana was like, she was massaging my neck and trying to loosen things up, she hit a knot on my shoulder. And when she did last night, and it may still be there, I may actually go in for a massage, I could feel my ear, like, crackling and popping. So it's possible that by doing that, and then when she did it last night, I stood up and, like, the headache that I kind of had, it was just light, just barely there, very nascent. I didn't feel it. So I believe that it was a tension headache that, you know, was exacerbated by other changes. My body, myself, my spirit, my everything, I don't think has ever undergone so much radical change all at one time than it has in the past 3 weeks. But again, I'm pulling through. I'm just fine. I am down to my final belt buckle again. This is a belt that I'm going to hold on to until I believe that I've come into a BMI range that would be considered normal. I'm still on the high end. I'm overweight on the BMI scale, to my knowledge. 5'5" or 5'4", 5'5", 5'6". I'm somewhere in there. 147 is right about where I am. 146, 147 is where I'm fluctuating. But I'm at the high end of normal or the low end of overweight, so I'm definitely sliding in the right direction. But I believe I may end up going down to potentially even mid-120s, still being healthy, still being able to perform what I need to perform, and still having energy, eating what I need to eat that's appropriate for my body. But yeah, I think that would satisfy me if that's what nature provides, right? I'm not going to push for it, but that may end up being where I slide. When all that happens, that's when I'm going to go, okay, I got to go get new pants. Then the hope is that in sticking with that as a routine, I'm not going to find myself back to where I was before. And that is specifically in avoiding extraneous oils. That is specifically in adopting a whole food, plant-based diet lifestyle as the core. Going with a routine and sticking with that routine, and then, you know, moving in and out from there, you know, and trying things within the realm of veganism, and seeing if I can do better, right, at that point. But right now I'm into stripping away things that I don't need. Haven't really had any food cravings outright. It's not something that I've necessarily ever suffered from. I'm eating. I'm not hungry. Nothing that I just absolutely crave. And maybe it's because I'm getting the nutrition I need that I don't crave something, right? Sometimes, I guess, from what I understand, your body may tell you you're hungry, well, because you didn't get the nutrition. You may have eaten a large meal, but you got nothing from it. But I'm getting all my vitamins and minerals that the infamous they, suggest you need to get. With fruits, get A and C, potentially some greens in the evening. So again, further vitamins, but then my potato will give me the vitamins and minerals that I might need outright. In fact, Diana and I have been kind of rediscovering food, the same foods that we've known. But I watched some video and they mentioned hash browns. I'm like, oh yeah, we gotta try hash browns. And yeah, you can make oil-free hash browns. Diana says it's easier than the way that she has been preparing it. You know, like slicing potatoes. She shreds them like in a cheese shredder or a cheese grater. And then we'll kind of wick off some of the moisture and then place it on one of those plug-in grills, the countertop grills. You lift the thing, you put your stuff on, and you close it. It's great. The oil-free hash browns are wonderful. Honestly, it tastes so good. It's moist. It's delicious. No additives, no spices or anything. I'm like, I just enjoy it. It's a great way of getting a potato a day without, you know, kind of having to worry about adding other things. But oil-free, that's what she does. Done. I could probably eat 2 of those and I could get away with it too, but it's usually about 1.5 potatoes that go into that. She'll roll it up, and then I just kind of eat it like a potato roll, a hash brown roll, and that's been a wonderful thing because I say I need that. That's my potato a day. That is like awesome. I love it. Easy to do for her too. I mean, she's a little worried about the grater, and maybe we can find a better way of kind of getting the potato to that texture, but so that she's not worried about that. And I've offered to pitch in too at times. But yeah, that's my potato. That's my go-to potato now, a hash brown. Try it. It's you can do it. Just try it. Like it's not going to hurt you, and it's easy to do. I just like the crunch. Crunch is my texture, and so she gets a little bit of crunch, get a little bit of the creamy together, and it's I can't believe it. Speaking of crunch, we picked up a popcorn popper, an air popper. Had one of those when I was younger, or at least our family did, and we made popcorn that way without using any extraneous stuff. Although we would pour oil and salt on it afterwards, we haven't. I'm enjoying the popcorn. Just like I had in the past. It doesn't feel like it's missing anything. I don't think my tastes have adjusted that much. But I'm someone who enjoys salt, but I've been trying to remove that as much as I can, and I still enjoy that crunch, the texture and the just the routine. Jedi's enjoying it just as much. She's not complaining that it's not salty enough, which tells you everything. If the kid loves it, it's great. I'm also considering switching, by and large, from brown rice to quinoa, and I'd recommend doing some background research on this, if only because it's been suggested that some rice, a lot of rice, may contain chemicals that you may not want. Everything has chemicals that you don't want, I'm sure. But in terms of its concentration, specifically in America, as opposed to some countries or some other countries, brown rice may not be as good for you as you might think, or specifically because of the negative consequences that come through how it's actually made, or where it's made, and what is infused indelibly in the actual grains. But going to quinoa is, to me, you get the same amount. Actually, you get the same amount of nutrition, but you actually get more. Nutritionally, bang for your buck, you get more from quinoa than you might from brown rice. Across the board. I think more protein, more fiber. I'm not interested in getting more protein. I think I'm good on that kind of intake. You don't want to overdo it with protein. People might overdo it with protein, and they're the ones that are the experts in protein the moment you mention you're on a plant-based diet. Protein, getting too much could actually hurt you and accelerate the processes that you don't want in your body. Again, I'm not necessarily here to educate. I'm just here to talk about what it is that I've learned. Telling you my experiences. This is all I've got, my perspectives. But yeah, quinoa is going to be my go-to for meals, and Diana's cool with it too. And so we're just going to finish out the brown rice. I don't think it's a big deal. And then I'm moving to quinoa. Got a vegan cake, fully vegan, for my birthday. Jasmine and Slav brought it over. It was pretty good, I hear. I didn't have it. I'm not a huge cake guy. It never was. That hasn't changed. But it's more kind of the function of happy birthday, here's a cake. Diana has been enjoying the hell out of it without guilt, but I would feel guilt if I ate the cake. Not because it's my birthday cake, but because I don't need the sugar and I don't need the oil. And that thing was packed with both. If I'm to satisfy myself, if I'm looking for something that would satisfy that kind of craving, and I'm generally not, some days I go without it, like baker's chocolate, like cacao, like no milk obviously, but like dark chocolate. I'm a huge fan. I've always been a fan of a huge fan of dark chocolate, but that's my flavor profile, right? Strong coffee, I like to chew it, or espresso, a strength. Dark chocolate, a strong. So I didn't eat the cake. So I didn't have I got my cake, but I didn't eat it too. It is possible to do. But, I'm just not into the processed stuff. I'm not. And especially when I'm in a weight loss goal. Eventually, when I hit a point where I'm like, okay, wow, I made it. I can't do any better than I'm doing now. Then I'm like, all right, I'm going to celebrate and maybe have a bite of vegan cake. Maybe. Is it something I'm looking forward to? No, absolutely not. Is this something that I would be more accepting of? Sure. But the reason why it's not a goal is because if that's the goal and then I achieve it, what then? I've achieved my goal. Then it's time to go back to the old routine. My goal is to live this way. My goal is to choose to not eat animal products. My goal is to not have blood on my hands in as many ways as I possibly can. Certain things that I absolutely cannot control. That's something that I can control. And if it's a percentage basis, I would rather be at the low end of the scale than the high end of the scale with anything that may be perceived as negative to any other living creature. So it's not about, me, casting aspersions to anybody who might choose that different path for themselves. You got to challenge your own convictions. You got to know where that is within you. But I didn't have my vegan cake, though it was my birthday cake. Speaking of food, this is something that I may have alluded to. Dining out is now impossible. Not just because of proximity for viable restaurants, but finding items on the menu that are suitable. I'm not just a vegan at this point. I'm a whole food plant-based vegan, which takes just about every option off the table. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to pay $10 for a salad for lettuce that I could buy at the store for $2. I'm just not. And I know that the lettuce is not going to satisfy me because there's nothing in it, right? It's just water. Maybe a little bit of something else, but there's nothing in it, right? I'm not going to pay $5 for, a cup of brown rice where I can pay half as much for a full bag of brown rice at home and make it just as easily. It's not economical to be not a vegan. Did you hear me? It is not economical to be not a vegan. I could have said that better. It's economical to be vegan. It's not economical to not be vegan. There's got to be a better way of saying that. But it's true. I know it's not as fun necessarily, but I'm sure there are ways to work around it. But ultimately, I can't. I just can't. I'm not going to invite oil into my diet. I'm talking about extraneous stuff that's not a part of a whole food, plant-based diet like avocado. Okay, it's a whole food. I'm not talking about seeds and nuts. The fats are within it, right? The oil that may naturally occur with everything else, or the juice that may occur with everything else. I'm not going to slide back. I made that choice. I'm just not going to. I didn't do it with hydrogenated oil 20 years ago. Just about 20 years ago. I made that choice with high fructose corn syrup. The sugar by and large, apart from one-offs. But dining out is. We're right now, unfortunately, this particular lifestyle is in the minority. I'll be honest. I think that may change. I think ultimately what will pull people into leaning vegan for a dietary choice is more choice in the marketplace. But be wary. Being a junk food vegan, as I did also mention last week, you're not really trading anything off. You're trading one evil for another, right? You're trading one processed food for another, and that may be good to bridge the gap, but ultimately, you're going to come down to deciding why you're making the decision you've made, and how it impacts your body, and how you're expecting it to impact your body in terms of health, and ultimately, I find a lot of that is just it's commercial, right? It's extraneous, right? It's not viable. Short term or long term, and it's certainly not affordable. But I think that's going to pull people in, but they're going to find they're potentially going to be challenges. Well, I thought I was going to lose weight and being a vegan. Well, what are you eating? Are you still eating junk labeled vegan? Or are you actually giving your body what it needs? If you're looking at it from a health perspective, if you're looking at it from a compassion perspective in terms of not destroying the animal's life needlessly. Simply because you believe you need a hamburger, it's a different approach. But I believe a core tenet of being a vegan is your personal health, because you ain't got that, you ain't got nothing. But that's my belief. That's my perspective. Well, another vegan may have a different perspective. I'm not going to fault them for that. There are a couple of videos that I saw this week, actually more than a couple. And I'll link them in the description. One was done by a gentleman, I believe, by the name of James from the Animal Rights Foundation of Florida, and it was a presentation that he didn't rely on too heavily. It was just there to back up what he was talking about. But even though it was from an animal rights perspective, I thought it was very reasonable in terms of helping people over the hump to explain that what they've learned may not be truthful. They haven't realized just how easily they've been duped. He cited a really good example, and I don't want to spoil it, but suffice it to say, and this is something that a lot of people kind of they get wrong. Like when I'm doing these videos from this perspective, they don't realize that my curtains are actually green. But they see red, but they're actually green. I actually do a little bit of video processing afterwards. The curtains, if you see them as red, they're actually green. They're green. I'm telling you, I'm looking right at them and they're green. I mean, you could sit there and say they're red, but I'm telling you, they're green. They're green. I'm telling you, I'm sitting right in front of them, they're green. Just a little aside there. Okay, I ruined the surprise. They're red. But if you are told they're green over and over and over again, what are you going to believe? Are you going to believe what you're told? Are you going to believe what your eyes see? You're going to believe what makes sense? Or are you going to believe a marketing slogan? You tell me. So, I'm sorry, I didn't do it as well as he did. He used another example, but it was very puzzling when he did, and I got it. They are red. I was just telling you they were green. Did you believe me? No. Why? Because your eyes saw something different. Or did they? Did you think twice? Like, wait, well, maybe they are green. How are they green? How did he get them green? Yeah. The quickest path to information, man. People will twist the truth more quickly than you know, or that you want to recognize. That's for sure. So 101 Reasons was great. Even though I don't think he outlined 101 reasons, it was well done. The presentation was well. I watched the whole thing. And it wasn't even great video quality or anything. It was just dense with information across the board. It was wonderful. It was great to watch. I also watched a video, another presentation done by Brenda Davis, who is a nutritionist, and I think she also has a cavalcade of titles beyond that, titled Plant-Based Diets and Disease, the Current State of the Evidence. That's what wins me over every time. Like, the evidence. Show me the proof. Like, over and over again. Not just the peer-reviewed stuff, but, like, show me demonstrably over time why this works, why this fits, why this makes sense. And then I'm going to follow, especially in relation to disease. Like, the number one killers, right? I'm not talking about eliminating everything wholesale, right? I'm talking about just diminishing the chances of me having anything that could afflict anybody I walk by in the store. Every other person that I walk by. And you don't know. Someone skinny, this is the thing that throws me off. Someone skinny, you don't know if they're unhealthy. You don't know their health. You don't know what they do. You don't know everything about them. You don't know. They don't know about you. You don't know about them. Don't look at them and say, "Oh my gosh, they're skinny. They're in great condition." You don't know. You don't know. You can't even look at someone who's overweight and say, you're in bad condition. You don't know. You don't know. Either way, you don't know. But you know a few things. One, obesity is an epidemic. We're talking adult obesity and childhood obesity. It's an epidemic. Why? Why is it happening? Suddenly our DNA has changed such that we now have larger children? Is that possible? I suppose as outliers, maybe, but as an epidemic? Why? What's the reason? Could it possibly be what they're drinking? Could it possibly be related to their food? I don't know. I don't know. It is possible. I will say that. It is insanely possible. But that's a good video. I if you watch just one of those two, the one from Brenda I thought was just amazingly done. Science, proof, evidence. Plant-based diets work. If you're looking to eliminate these top killers or top problems, that's a great way to do it. I really only wrote down one goal for the next week, and that is to not eat bread. I don't necessarily need bread. I'm not a huge fan of bread outright. I enjoy it, but it's mostly a filler. Have been eating sprouted wheat if I do eat bread, but I'm just not inclined to get it outright because I don't feel I need that. I'm getting plenty of grains elsewhere throughout the day, in everything that I might need nutritionally that might come with it, including more fiber. And plus, it's an added cost. Why spend the extra $3 once a week when I don't need to? See what I'm saying? Again, it's more affordable to be vegan. Way more affordable. A bag of potatoes is $2. I could buy 3 bags of potatoes to feed my family for a week, or like one roll of a vegetable roll that may have oil in it that feeds me maybe for a lunch. Economics, people. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you again for sticking with me. I don't intend on these videos to be as long as they are. It's just that I have a lot to pack in, a lot that I want to talk about, and I want to document my journey. They end up being now, I guess, 40 minutes long for one reason or another. I like talking about this stuff. Other people apparently like listening to this stuff, so I appreciate you supporting me in that way. If you're more interested in the tech things that I have to talk about, chrispirillo.com is where you can go. If you're more interested in the more personal vloggy, not so much vegan-y things. GeekFamilyFun.com. I launched CreatorAdvocate.com for fellow content creators last week that specifically dovetails into our annual event. So I've got a lot of stuff out there for everybody. Chris Pirillo can be sliced up many ways. May the Force be with you.